It is time for another draft profile here at Locked On Blue Jackets. With the Blue Jackets' shiny new second first-round pick, I thought we would talk about some of the guys that might be going a little bit later in the draft. That's what's coming up today on Locked On Blue Jackets.
You're Locked On Blue Jackets, your daily podcast on the Columbus Blue Jackets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to Locked On Blue Jackets, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. As always, I am your host, Jay Foster. I'm here to bring you news, stories, the good, the bad, and the ugly about your favorite team and mine, the Columbus Blue Jackets. Before we get started, I want to thank everyone for making this your first listen of the day. Every day, Locked On Blue Jacket is free and available on all podcast platforms. We are over on YouTube. Super close to another milestone over there. So if you haven't hit subscribe, please feel free to do so. It helps me out. It helps you out. You get notified when new episodes go live. Everybody wins. Today's episode is another draft profile. Now that the trade deadline has the dust has settled, the Blue Jackets are going to have 2 first-round picks in this draft unless they trade one of them away, which seems unlikely at this stage in time, but you never know. But we're going to proceed as if the Blue Jackets have 2 first-round picks. They have their own and they have LA's, which is probably going to be somewhere in that 18 to 24 range, I want to say. So I thought we would look at one of the depth picks. This is a guy that I really like a lot. And so we've got Sam McGilligan here. He's going to tell us all about Gavin Brindley, who's playing for the University of Michigan. The Blue Jackets have had some success with University of Michigan players in the past. So I thought, let's take a look at another one. And maybe he will be wearing Union blue come the draft. So that is what is coming up on today, and I will just get straight into my conversation with Sam because he is much smarter than I am. So the Blue Jackets have had a pretty good amount of success with players that from the University of Michigan. I think that's pretty safe to say, and so I thought, hey, let's talk about another one. I really like this prospect. I'm super excited, and I am almost certainly setting myself up for disappointment when he gets drafted by the Dallas Stars or something. But I've got Sam McGilligan here, and we're going to talk all about Gavin Brindley, who is for my money, one of the more exciting players in this draft, I think.
Undeniably. I love Gavin Brindley. I could talk about Gavin Brindley for days. This is one of the most fun players I have ever watched, and one of the most likable players I've ever followed. There is something so remarkable about the little hedgehog that is Gavin Brindley. He is officially 5'9". That's what I think his height comes in as. 5'9" is
on
what
paper.
I have.
He's 5'9", so I assume he's probably 5'7.5" on a good day. But
yeah, maybe
in skates, maybe.
I'll be devastated if the combine reveals something else. Oh, sorry, long day at work. So Gavin Brindley is probably the best example in a while. Well, actually, Zach Benson is the best example in a while. But Gavin Brindley is the second best example in a while about how being small, when applied the right way, makes you super projectable to the NHL. This is that Logan Stankoven style of play, or you're small and in their drafter, you see them kind of getting into a lot of physical encounters when they're driving into the slot, and you're like, he's tiny, it's not going to work. But he's so skilled and he's so shifty on his edges, and he protects the puck surprisingly well, and he's also just strong. He kind of gets around, and Stankoven can just kind of absorb pressure and just kind of fly through gaps and turn off people, and nobody can really get their momentum on him to hurt him. Brindley doesn't play like Stankoven, but he has that same style of pressure management. It's just he does entirely different things with it. Brindley is super aggressive on a forecheck, but not in he's mindlessly aggressive. He's unbelievably calculated. He kind of he'll skate in super fast. He closes gaps really quickly. So he doesn't mind being a tiny little bit patient to let a guy think he has more space and then take it away from him. Being small, playing this style, means he had to get super good with his stick. So stick lifts, stick steals, just little loose puck tips to kind of get it and then control it as soon as it pops out. These type of plays, they're all second nature. His skating, one of the best in the draft from anybody. Like, he's just like, he's an unbelievable skater. He's super quick. He gets a lot of speed right away. Even though he's not like explosive, it doesn't really matter because he's laterally explosive. So he may not like get like pure like, oh wow, he's gone in a straight line, but he kind of just goes on like an arc super quickly off one step. And you're like, oh, and he uses that to kind of like give him that extra bit of space that he lacks from his size when escaping pressure. And he's just okay with bigger players kind of coming in because he's small, he's strong, he's sturdy, he knows how to protect the puck, he knows how to like get people's momentum off of him, and he just takes off. Then out of nowhere, or not really out of nowhere, then out of development, Gavin Brindley started being like, all right, I'm just going to slowly become one of the draft's best offensive players throughout the draft year. He started off and you saw the skating and the escapes from pressure, the way he connected passes and how effective he was on the forecheck and the loose pucks he was picking up and defensive effort and all these other things. And it's Michigan who's developing him. Who's just like, they don't miss. Michigan doesn't miss with developing players. So when Gavin Brindley is Michigan Wolverine, you're just like, okay, this dude's going to be getting developed properly and he's going to be taught how to play pro hockey in a modern system. That's what I'm talking about. And then you just kind of keep watching him and he would just slowly be like, oh, he can make that type of pass too. Oh, wow, look at that. He's making cross lane passes and motion and transition. And like, oh, look at that. He faked it. And now he's going around. He's like adding all these new little things. And then you slowly realize come like December, he's not adding them. It's always been there. He's just learning how they all play off of each other. And he's toying around with the recipe more and more as the season goes on. Then World Juniors came and he made the team, which blew everybody's mind who knows anything about World Junior draft year players not going because of some reason that makes no sense. Like, I kind of thought he deserved to be on the team. I never thought he'd make it. He's tiny. He's a draft year guy. They never make it. That's just like it. They almost never do. You don't even really consider them. I didn't even write him on the list for my team because I thought it'd be dumb, even though I was like, Gavin Brindley could probably make this team. And then lo and behold, he's on the team. Lo and behold, he plays in the fourth line. He's not like Cole Caulfield when Caulfield played on the fourth. He was terrible, not because he was bad, but because he played him in a stupid role. He just like kind of flew around. He was being a little buzzard all over the ice. He was causing chaos. He was making problems. Coach loved him, moves him up. Brindley starts playing with better players, immediately connects with them offensively. Okay, wait, our top six is kind of, we need something. You're moving up. What does Brindley do? He just jumps into the top six without missing a beat and suddenly is like, all right, well, you guys need another offensive dude, so I'll just do that now. And then here he is leading rush offense, like flying into the zone, drawing in defense, slowing down his pace, faking a shot, dragging the goalie one way and then slipping a no-look pass through to a trailer on the other side of the ice. It's just like, holy, like, where did this all come from? And then he took that momentum back to Michigan. And he has been on fire. This is Gavin Brindley's last 10 games. 1.00, 3 points, 1, 4, 1, 1, 2, 2. NCAA.
Bonkers.
Yeah,
just
he plays with
banana stats.
Like, it's not a coincidence that the Fantilli data that keeps getting mentioned, the production since leaving the World Juniors, that's like the insane, like 2 point per game or something crazy. He and Brindley got connected around the same time. It's not a coincidence. They feed off of each other because they're two unbelievably gifted players playing together. And that's kind of what they do. Some of Fantilli's points are all Brindley, where it's like Brindley is the one who's grabbing the puck out of a scrum and spinning off a dude behind the net and coming around. He's faking a pass to the point and slipping it through another defender to Fantilli, whose backdoor just goes bloop.
In a minute, we've got more of my conversation with Sam about Gavin Brindley. But first, I've got to tell you about FanDuel. It is America's #1 sports book. The midway point of the NBA season has just passed. Now is the perfect time to download FanDuel because new customers are going to get a no-sweat first bet up to $1,000. That means if you open an account, you make your first bet, it doesn't win, FanDuel will give you that money back if it is less than $1,000, which is pretty great, I think. So all you have to do, download the FanDuel Sportsbook app. It's safe, it's secure, it's super easy to use. You can bet on everything from the money line to point scorers, threes drained. Plus, FanDuel even lets you combine your bets at a bigger payout with a same-game parlay. So if you want to make some bets on, let's say, the Blue Jackets winning tonight against the Pittsburgh Penguins and Patrick Laine scoring a goal, you can combine those bets and get an even bigger payout than you would making two separate bets. So don't miss the chance to get your no-sweat first bet up to $1,000 in bonus bets when you go to FanDuel.com/locked-on. That is FanDuel.com/locked-on to learn more. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA.
And vice versa, of course. Fantilli, mauls 16 people in the coaching staff all at once while dragging the puck through all of their legs, and nobody can do anything about it. And then Brindley's just sitting out, and then he goes bloop, and it works beautifully both ways. But that's the best part about duos like this. They don't form because one dude is so much better than the other. Then it's not a duo. Then it's a dude getting carried. This is a duo through and through. This is the draft's best duo. They're awesome. You're drafting Fantilli, hopefully Columbus is.
I was going to say, there is a world in which the Blue Jackets
there's
end
a
up
world
with Adam Fantilli.
If you take Adam Fantilli and you pass on Gavin Brindley, I will yell.
I will yell. I will shout.
You will yell louder, but I will also yell in the background in pain for all Columbus fans everywhere and for Fantilli and Brindley themselves, because I'm sure they would love that.
Right, how often do you get to draft players that have built-in chemistry, unless you're drafting the Sedin twins? Obviously it's not that level, but
yeah,
if you have a second pick and Brindley's available at that level, why wouldn't you pick a guy that plays well with potentially your future number one center?
Yes, completely agreed. I have reached the whole point of Gavin Brindley's a top 10 pick. It's possible it might not stay that way. Nothing to do with him. Everything to do with the fact that this draft is dumb and there's 14 dudes who are probably worth top 10 picks right now. So 4 guys have to lose out, and Brindley just being 5'9" might have a case against him. There's another small guy in that territory, Jaden Perron, who is arguably better in a lot of ways, or close. They're close enough as a player where you can kind of go either or. I still prefer Brindley. I probably will towards by the year's end. Brindley is just insane. He does it against NCAA guys. That's the craziest part. It's it's the small guy who's making it work, who's using the NCAA guys' best strength against them to score a bunch of points and just make plays all over the ice. It's damn. Wow. If his skating wasn't so magnificent, I'd be a little more concerned, but the kid just dances out there. He's sensational. I absolutely adore Gavin Brindley. I hope whatever team drafts him understands the type of player he is and doesn't do something stupid with his development.
I mean, that's the dream, isn't it? He is in the consolidated rankings on elite prospects. They have him anywhere from 9 to 43. So
that sounds like that's about right. That sounds about right.
That feels extremely 2020 first round draft to me, but
yeah,
it feels like he's going to be one of those picks. We talked a little about Lane Hudson before going on before recording. It feels like he's probably going to drop in the draft and then turn into an absolute monster and have people being how did he fall this far?
Yep. Those types of players are becoming more and more predictable every year. I don't know if that's me experience or if it's just me watching my favorite guys after doing this for a couple of years, really dialed in and seeing them slip through the draft and be how?
It's short guys that play in the NCAA.
Small guys, especially small Europeans. That's the easiest one. You just know they're going to. Noah Ostlund going 16 is something my brain still doesn't comprehend happened. Go Buffalo for that choice. To go Sabres.
To manage it. Yeah, he's going to be another one, I think, that in the future we're going to be how did he fall all the way to 16? We talked a little bit about the built-in chemistry with Fantilli and Brindley. Is Brindley a guy that fits into the Blue Jackets?
Yes.
We talked a little bit last episode about how they draft these guys that are just skill, 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 and then develop everywhere else. The idea of maybe a Kent Johnson, Fantilli, Brindley, University of Michigan super line feels like
Oh my God.
I would like to see it, you know?
Yeah. Oh, wow. I was thinking Brindley was Sillinger myself, but like,
I mean, I also would not
screw
be
that.
yeah.
Oh my Lord. That is awesome. Johnson, Fantilli, Brindley would be legitimately one of the most ridiculous lines. Maybe not in terms of like peak impact, but although
I was going to say, I don't know that it would be the most defensively responsible line that's ever existed in the NHL.
Fantilli is going to be a very good defensive center.
Yeah.
Gavin Brindley is going to be a very effective like two-way guy. Ken Johnson is surprisingly effective.
Ken Johnson has been surprisingly effective defensively this season. I've
seen some plays,
pleasantly surprised
clips where I'm like, holy shoot, this is wow, Kent Johnson's doing that defensively, and it's like legitimately good reads, and he knows what to do the second he's done with it. So like you can see a real two-way game is like developing within Kent Johnson, which is why my interest of him is then like, okay, I was definitely a little too low on him at that draft. If he's like kind of stepped up on all these different ways with the feet and the two-way engagement, Kent Johnson's gonna be a freak of nature. You put him with Gavin Brindley and Adam Fantilli, holy
just watch them go. Like that seems like my idea of a good time, frankly.
Gavin Brindley is like the type of player who fits in anybody's lineup. Like he actually, some teams, most offenses are built around two of the three. You can either be a rush, not either, but rush forecheck, rush cycle forecheck. Like how do you want to play the game? Rush cycle seems to be the more commonly used one in the regular season, and then penalties start getting thrown out the window, so then everybody's forechecking anyways. Brindley's the type of guy who will complement any style. Brindley would play with Tortorella. Brindley should play with Tortorella. I don't know if I'd say he would, because Tortorella
has his guys
and he would bench the small dude who would like Gavin Brindley plays like a soldier. Like I hate that phrase because I don't like using that whole hockey, like the whole hockey soldier system parallel that people have referenced before. But Gavin Brindley is like the epitome of one that won't go out there and like break his bones for no reason. Like he's a smart player. It's all built around managing pressure. He'll throw his weight around when it's suitable, but not otherwise. And if it's not otherwise, it's fine because he has the tools and the means to make up for it with crafty stick work. He can be out muscled, but his second effort, like that, he'll get. This is something about Brindley that is super projectable in the NHL, I think. It's just the way like a guy will out-muscle him, but they won't push him down, and he keeps his balance really well. So when he's kind of coming out of these situations, he will move laterally and just kind of like route himself right back when someone thinks that he shouldn't be there. And there he is with the stick kind of coming in some dude's blind spot, and it's go bloop and takes the puck. And it's like, huh? Or even if he doesn't take the puck, he just like annoys him. He lifts his stick a little, or he just like bats at the puck, and the dude's like, who's trying to take off. Yeah, now he had the space to take off, but Brindley annoyed him, and now when he looks up, the lane is closed and there's pressure everywhere. And it's just Gavin Brindley's that dude. He just delays your plans because he's always pissing you off because he somehow is just showing up in places, and you're like, where is the little player coming from? Like, how is he getting there? These type of dudes, I've heard big players talk about how like these super small guys who play like this, they legitimately don't notice them as quick as others. Like they'll see them, but they're not like, you turn around and there's a guy and he's like right here. I hate mirrored camera. He's like right there. You're like, that's a dude. But if he's like down here, you're like, that's a guy, I think, but like I only see this much of him, and it's wow.
You kind of see him out of the corner of your eye, and then by the time you do see it, it's too late.
You process it, but not fully, and most importantly, you don't get all the information. Like you turn around and see a guy. Hockey players can like immediately, like they see posture, they don't even have to think about what it means. They know what that play is trying to indicate, and are now thinking about 3 different solutions to that problem.
In a minute, I've got more of my conversation with Sam as we finish up talking about Gavin Brindley. But first, I've got to tell you about Athletic Greens. I've been taking Athletic Greens for over a year now. I had heard a lot of hype about it. I wanted to see what the hype was about, and it's become such a big part of my morning routine. I wake up, I make tea, I make myself a bottle of AG1. Super easy to use, super easy to make. Just a scoop of AG1 in a cup of water. I've got this little protein shaker bottle, put it in that, give it a good shake, drink it, and I have more energy. I feel better. I get sick less often. I'm being able to focus more. And AG1 is responsible for all of those things. So right now, it's time to reclaim your health, your immune system with convenient daily nutrition. It is just one scoop in a cup of water every day. That is it. There's no need for a million different pills or supplements to look out for your health. To make it even easier, Athletic Greens is going to give you a free 1-year supply of immune-supporting vitamin D and 5 free travel packs with your first purchase. All you have to do is visit athleticgreens.com/NHL Network. Again, that is athleticgreens.com/NHL Network to take ownership over your health and pick up the ultimate daily nutritional insurance.
Brindley's hips are too low.
That's the thing. I feel like there's a trend of smaller players.
It is. It's a physics
have
thing.
a lower center of gravity. And so it makes them really hard to push away, and they can really kind of get the upper hand on this kind of thing, which is, as a fellow, I wouldn't say I'm short necessarily, but I'm definitely small for hockey player standards. And as a fellow short hockey player, it makes me extremely happy when I see the little guys come out on top.
Yeah. I am a tall, lumbering fool that is 6'4", and I have had a friend who is like 5'10", who has just routinely had zero issue our entire lives just taking me down at will, because my center of gravity is just, he just wins that battle.
You're too tall.
And I can't do anything about it because he's this short, stocky, strong little idiot. So like, even though physics say I should be stronger, and who knows, maybe like you could go do something and maybe that's the case, but it doesn't matter because I can't generate more power than he does in those situations. These guys have knives on their shoes and they're on ice. It matters so much. It really makes a difference. Like, Gavin Brindley is small, but he's feisty. He's tenacious. He's going to get really strong. You can already see it's like in his game. Like, this is the player Gavin Brindley is going to be. He's just going to be a strong, durable, just fast, in and out type of player. And then when he's in open space, he's going to be a lot more he's going to be like your small guy in open space. He's going to be awesome. But like, there's so many other details that complement it that make him, it's so easy to see teams looking at Brindley and going like, I will play that small kid because he works his ass off every shift. They might play him for the wrong reason, but he's good enough that he'll just like he'll play within their stupid, what if he played for Torts, maybe he only gets fourth line minutes, but he can play those fourth line minutes the way Torts needs to see it, and he would go all out. And
it feels like he's one of those players that all he has to do is get his foot in the door.
I think so.
He gets 2 shifts and they're like, oh, okay, this is what this kid could do. It's very much like that felt like the impact that Nick Blankenburg had when he signed with the Blue Jackets.
Yep.
Undrafted kid, like maybe 5'8", but stocky and isn't afraid to throw big hits. Like, he is routinely knocking 6'4" guys just on their butts. And he maybe had to play 2-3 games before the entire organization and the fan base were like, oh, okay, this kid plays like he's 6'6". And that's kind of what...
Yeah.
Blankenburg's
amazing for that. And like, Brindley is definitely the type of player, like, I don't think he would struggle breaking the Columbus lineup. Like, Jaden Perron is another small player who I think will play in the NHL for a lot of different reasons, but they're not as eye-popping to a coach. A coach sees Brindley drive like a big dude pressuring towards him, and Brindley just not hesitating or not showing fear, not like even escaping pressure smartly will sometimes give off a red flag to some coaches because they will be like, why are you scared of pressure? Some might make, it's not unheard of that some might make leaps of information based off that, like kind of bias where they're just like, you know, to play in the NHL as a small dude, you can't be afraid of pressure. Pressure's going to come at you. And it's just like, okay, well, my whole game is built around managing pressure. It's like, I need to see you take it on, and then the kid's screwed. Like, it's not unheard of. Brindley will be able to circumvent that. I don't know if Jaden Perron will. Pretty sure Jaden Perron's going to be my, like, he goes to the wrong team. He'll be my best example of my favorite player ever who should have been a star, who
and unfortunately mismanagement happened.
20 NHL games because someone wanted him to be something he's not. Terrifies me, but not Brindley.
So,
he'll be great.
Brindley's going to be great. I'm excited for Gavin Brindley no matter where he goes. He is going to go somewhere he's going to go to a team I hate and I'm going to be mad about it. But likelihood is he goes back to Michigan next year, I assume.
He's a Michigan player for like 2-3 years probably.
Yeah.
You don't want to rush him.
No. What does he need to work on to be the most effective NHL player?
Blending his offense. He has all the tools. Like, they're already there. Like, that's the thing with, but like, they're already there. You can get slightly faster. You can get stronger for sure. The strength is like an actual thing, but like, that's also coming for sure. Like, when it comes to the physical development side of things, like, you know, it's Michigan, so you don't really have to stress about that. They'll get him a little quicker, just a little bit more strength gives him that extra little bit of burst on that straight line speed. It also gives him that little bit extra distance covered on those arcs that he uses on the redirects, and just to kind of escape pressure and set up the space he wants to move into. The biggest thing is just working out how to become the guy offensively. Just, I can make a dangerous pass out of almost any situation. I can turn that into this without losing what makes him so good as a player that just kind of like gels the line together. Like, Brindley is the rare type of guy where I can look at him and I can totally see a certain development path where he just becomes a star, like just a full star, where it's like he can chain all the plays together that you need around the ice. And I don't mean this in like he's in open space and he kind of follows up a guy well, and then like he makes a nice pass when he's open. It's like, no, not like that. Like, Gavin Brindley, he can follow and support anybody, get the puck, and then pretty much has the tools to do whatever he wants with it. And he's only shown more and more willingness to figure out what the what the true restraints of these tools are. The stuff he's able to get away with, they isn't always overly flashy, but it's super effective. Like, when you can get slot passes regularly, when you can bait defenders out and then just like hook pass it right around their ankles, or use their momentum against them and just kind of like slip by and carry it into the slot and then drag the pressure in, pass through it, or recognize when your teammate is doing that and know immediately how to position for, let's say, you know, they're going for the shot, you want the rebound, how you position to be the outlet pass if they want to go across the ice and you score it back to, like, he has every one of these aspects, just putting it all together more and more, being more deceptive. He already is really deceptive, so that's poor wording. Using that deception more and more to just manipulate guys at will. Right now, he's like the number 2 in the duo. Still, like, it's a duo and he deserves so much commendation, but like, it is also pretty obvious that Brindley's points wouldn't be as high if it wasn't Fantilli. But like, I could also see a situation in 2 years where, let's say it's the 25 draft. I don't know where James Haggins is going to school, but now it's Michigan for this example. And Gavin Brindley is there, and Brindley and Haggins are now tearing the NCAA up, and it's Brindley as the guy, and it's Haggins kind of playing off of him. I could totally see that happening, where James Haggins is like, he's contending for first, second, third, or fourth in the 25 draft. We're getting really ahead of ourselves, but he looks.
Yeah,
like
I don't.
You're like, who's James Haggins?
I don't want to think about how old these children are now.
Sorry, but just as a quick example, just to
I get it.
That's who he is. Like, that's the type of player I could see Brindley being in a few years, and then that's the type of guy who kind of challenges for the. I'm gonna say Heisman, and that's not right.
Are you thinking with the Hobie Baker?
I'm thinking of the Hobie Baker. Thank you. Heisman is definitely the football trophy. Okay, cool.
I don't know much, but I do know what the Hobie Baker is.
Okay, yeah, the Hobie Baker. Thank you.
Yes.
One of us.
I would not be.
One of
I
us
also
works
would not be
in
surprised.
hockey. It's not me. I lost what my point was because I'm a dumb fool. Oh, I remember now. Sorry. Yeah, Brindley can totally challenge for a Hobie Baker in a few years. It's just there's so many good aspects of his game. Some people would be a little more hesitant, but I've talked to some of the more credible outlets that have had him lower, and I've asked about it, and basically it was a bit ago, so I'm hoping that their tunes have changed, A, and B, the general theme was that they just were a bit concerned about his offensive output and like not necessarily just the pure volume of points, but what he was doing. Like a lot of it, what was so enticing about Brindley before the World Juniors was seeing all the little fragmentations slowly get added, and you're like, man, what could you be? And then it was just like, it doesn't matter. You came back from the World Juniors, and you're just like, this is what I can be. And then you just like showing everybody now there's no doubt that he has this offensive game. So now there's really no reason to be low on him. There is a chance, like Gavin Brindley's doing so well, I think he might break the NHL mold of small players and might actually get looked at pretty high. I say before he goes 37th.
Right.
Like, I
know. I am just really hoping that the draft lottery falls in our favor here, because everything you're saying, I'm like, okay, yeah, this kid is primed and ready to be a Blue Jacket.
If Columbus passes on the actual reuniting act of Fantilli,
yeah, we will be starting the Fire Jarmo Kekalainen campaign immediately.
I'm starting a fire in Columbus, just burning the city. Oh boy, that one would be really tough. I mean, there's probably somebody who would listen to this and be like, no, it's not that big a deal. Brindley is this and this and this. And then the NHL, Fantilli would be much more responsible and Brindley would be riding on his coattails. And they wouldn't be wrong, but it's just like people can really underestimate what the value of a good number 2 player is. Like a guy whose game is the number 2.
Right. You can't all be main characters.
You can't.
I feel like we talked about this last year with Kent Johnson being a main character.
Yeah, and it's working with Kent Johnson as well. So there's a lesson to be had about taking players who are like that and like reducing it. But there's also just value in identifying who those guys are right away. Like who the beast of the line is, and then who's going to be the guy who just like fills in all of the details. Because in terms of like making a line as optimal as possible, it's just as important. You can't like it works. That's just kind of how it is. Like I use this example in my rankings write up. Zach Benson, who I will sub Gavin Brindley in for this example, and we're gonna pretend Gavin Brindley is now a left wing who shoots left. Boston loses Marchand and they need a left wing, and then Bergeron and Pasternak are thrown in a time machine for 3 years. And then suddenly they need to reunite and make that line that is basically the highest advanced analytic line you'll ever see. Like they're just like dominating everything. The eye test, when you watch them, you're like, oh, well, of course all the analytics are amazing. They're dominating everything. They have no stop, no chill, no nothing. Benson and Brindley are the type of guys you throw on the end of that left wing because it's how they play within the whole unit. We'll watch their individual game just like skyrocket as a result. They may not be as effective on a lot of other lines, but they will be unbelievable. They will be as good as anybody in the league. Like they're the type of guys to get like 96% J Fresh cards and stuff like that.
And everyone's like, how? And then you look at the stats and you're like, oh, okay, yeah, this makes...
Yeah, and then it's like the guy with 84 points who's only like a 73%, everyone's like, how? And it's like, well, because they don't play the details the way these guys do, and they drive their points through the details. Like, some of these players just straight up become primary guys. I looked at Matty Beniers and was like, in 5 years of you practicing being a secondary dude, you will be driving an NHL line like a star by just connecting all the plays. Then he was like, watch me as a rookie. I'll do it now. And he's
I don't care about your 5-year plan.
And he's incredible. He's quite literally what I thought he was going to be at like 23 now. Just like the version that's not as powerful as I envisioned. So, but like the fundamentals of how he plays and like what his game became, the polish to it, guy is driving insane results, and it all comes from just being defensively responsible, playing off teammates well, and knowing exactly what to do in all of those situations, knowing when to trust them, when it's his turn, like no selfishness with it. Like those guys, those supporting secondary guys, they are kind of the primary guy because of that. And I just equally as reliant. And that's what Gavin Brindley will be for the Columbus Blue Jackets when they inevitably take him with their late first-round pick they get for trading.
It's so bad. I want it so bad, Sam. Okay, so we really got to wrap it up here. Otherwise, we are going to talk for another 4 hours about Gavin Brindley, which I fully believe in our ability to do. But if people want to learn more about Gavin Brindley or, prospects in general, where can they find you and your work?
You can find me on Twitter at Sam_McGilligan. You can also find my Substack at sammcgilligan.substack.com. My work is going on McKeens Hockey. There'll be some pieces coming out soon. One of them may or may not be about Adam Fantilli.
You cannot confirm or deny this, but
throw some Gavin Brindley in there just for benefit now. You can also find some of my work at Puck Preps, where I do some reporting and scouting just on 2005 born North American players in general. So like kind of deeper beyond the NHL draft as well. And that is mostly it. I just released an absurdly very short, definitely not exceptionally long rankings post.
No, it'll take you 5 minutes to read.
It was definitely only a 5-minute read before you get to Bedard's name. Frick. There's a picture with all the names in the list if you want to see it really quickly. It's in the pinned tweet. Just, not the actual pinned tweet because I posted the wrong list.
No, it is a good draft preview. I enjoyed it a lot.
Thank you.
You should check out Sam's work because he is very smart about this kind of prospect thing. And I appreciate him coming to talk to me about prospects, Gavin Brindley in particular, because I always feel like I have learned something new about these players when I do one of these things. So I appreciate you giving up your evening for this.
I appreciated being here. Thank you for having me.
And that's all I've got for you today. Tomorrow we will be back. We'll be talking about tonight's game against the Pittsburgh Penguins. So I'm just going to go ahead and pencil in a loss because why not? The rules say that we have to play them. The rules do not say I have to be happy about it. But that's what we're going to talk about in tomorrow's show. And I've been Jay Foster. Thank you for listening. You can find me on Twitter at _Jacob Foster, JAKOBFORSTER. You can find the podcast at LO_Blue Jackets. If you have comments, questions, criticisms, you can email me at lockdownbluejackets@gmail.com. And thank you for listening. Thank you for making this your first listen of the day, despite the fact that it is 3 p.m. Eastern time as I finish recording this. It's fine. Thank you for making it your second or your third listen of the day. I appreciate it. I love doing this. Hopefully you guys love listening to it, and it's a lot of fun. So thank you for listening, thank you for watching. Tune in tomorrow for my ranting about the Pittsburgh Penguins, and until then, make sure you stay locked on.